My first memory was at the age of 5. My sister and I began spending the weekends with my grandparents. My grandfather was a deacon and they took us to their church every Sunday. One Valentine's Day weekend, I was so surprised to learn that my grandfather had gotten me my very own puppy. But little did I know that he would use something that I loved more than anything as a way to destroy me. I'll never forget the evening that he told my grandmother that he was going to walk me out to the pasture to see the new baby calf. I was so excited. However, this was the evening that my life changed forever. Once we got into the pasture, he told me that I was his special girl, and that he had something special to give to me. At the age of 5, my grandfather stole my innocence. I can't explain the physical and mental pain that I suffered that day. As we returned home, I was so sad and hurt that I thought I was going to die. He told my grandmother that I had fallen and injured myself. As time passed, fishing became his way of getting me away from the house. He would tell my grandmother that my sister could stay behind to help her cook dinner. I often wondered if my grandmother knew the truth and why she didn't protect me. He would say, "I'm going to take my special girl fishing." He would grab his old cane fishing pole and we walked down the dirt road for what seemed like forever. Our fishing trips meant that I would have to endure yet another nightmare. Most of my friends looked forward to the weekends, but not me because I knew what I would have to face. I didn't realize the price that I would have to pay for my precious puppy. I knew what was happening to me wasn't right, but I didn't know how to tell anyone. Therefore, I would just sit and hold my puppy Missy, and she was always willing to listen. When I finally felt like I had the courage to tell someone about the horrible things that was happening to me, my grandfather would remind me of what an awful and dirty little girl that I was. He would tell me that he would kill Missy, hurt my family, and no matter what I said, that no one would believe such a terrible child, and that no one would ever be able to love such a person like me. The years passed by slowly, and I constantly dreaded the weekends with my grandparents. At the age of 12, I remember going to school and watching a presentation about the change that happened to little girls as they grew up. My family never talked about those things, and I was completely innocent. The school presentation made me realize that my body was changing. I remember going home on Sundays and I would find myself staring into a mirror, searching my body over and wondering, was this going to be the weekend that I would become pregnant? I didn't want to hurt my family, but I knew that I had to tell someone my darkest secret that I'd locked away for 7 long years. Finally, after a weekend of painful torture and humiliation, I gathered the courage to tell my mother what had happened. She called my oldest sister to come over while my dad was still at work. My sister asked me, "Would you be willing to go to the police?" But I was just too frightened to tell. I'd always seen on TV how the police officers would take the bad people to jail, and I thought they would take me away from my family because all of the bad things that I had done. I also knew that my dad would hurt my grandfather, and I didn't want him to pay the price for my sins. After that day, I never had to go back to my grandparents' house. Although the weekend visits stopped, the nightmares never ceased. I was scared that he would come looking for me and fulfill his promises that he made for so many years by killing my dog and hurting my family. As I moved on to high school, I thought I was finally seeing the world for the first time. I was making new friends and feeling like I belonged. You see, high school is a place where you're supposed to hang out with friends and have a good time, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case for me. My world shattered yet once again. During my junior year, my teacher began molesting me. Every day while the other kids were at break, I was forced to stay behind and endure the torture. My teacher knew that I had to pass his class in order to graduate, so he knew that I would have no choice. I was so shocked and afraid, I wondered, how could this happen to me again? I thought, my grandfather must be right. I'm a terrible person. I was so humiliated that I couldn't tell a soul. My abuse happened nearly 30 years ago. There was no such thing as a child advocacy center, and no one ever came to my class to tell me what to do if I were faced with an unsafe situation. I thought I would be lost forever. Several years later, I became a mother of a precious baby girl, but nothing in my life could prepare me for the day that she came to me and told me that her paternal grandfather was sexually abusing her. She said, "Mom, I lied to you," and I asked her, "About what?" She said, "When you asked me if anybody had ever touched me, I told you no, but the truth is, Mom, Papaw touched me." My heart was broken. I sat there quietly with tears running down my face as I listened to my baby girl tell me about all the horrible things that he had done to her. I thank God that I had talked to her about safe and unsafe touch and that she did have the courage to tell me what he had done. I was so angry, I wanted to take matters into my own hands, but instead I called a friend from church and she gave me the number to call to get my daughter the help that she needed. I called the Department of Children's Services the next morning and they set me up with the Campbell County Children's Center. I took her in for a forensic interview and they scheduled a medical exam that very same week. I remember the staff being so kind and friendly to me and my daughter. She started counseling and group therapy. I was so grateful that she was able to get help in one place. You see, when I was a child advocacy centers didn't exist. However, I am so thankful that a place was available for my daughter to go and receive the services that she needed. The Campbell County Children's Center helped her on her journey by providing the opportunity for healing and hope.
Be the change you wish to see in the world. Become a child ambassador with your monthly donation. To find out more about the Campbell County Children's Center, you can go online to www.campbellcountychildrencenter.org.